This podcast is brought to you by The Trading Floor. The Trading Floor is on a mission to build an amazing community. A community of like-minded individuals who are looking to take their trading to the next level. Whether you are just getting started, been at it for a bit, or are well into your trading career, The Trading Floor has you covered. We provide you with all styles of trading, helping mold you into the trader you want to become and reach your goals. If you are looking for a wonderful place to learn, grow, and expand your horizons, become part of the Trading Floor and discover the next chapter in your trading journey. Take the next step by visiting our website with the link down in the description. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the podcast.
What's up, everybody? I'm Jay.
And I'm Christy.
And welcome to episode 1 of the Trading Floor podcast. To kick things off, we brought together 2 special guests, which some of y'all might actually know. Arty and Brutus. What's up, guys?
What up?
Hello. I'm glad to be here.
Hi, guys.
I'm glad y'all are here. And so in today's episode, we'll be talking about who we are, what we do, and how we got to this point. And before I do, I'm just extremely excited that we're starting off this, like Christy, like this has been in the works for a while. Like,
yeah, it really has been. It's been quite the journey to getting to this point to be able to actually do this podcast. But we have some really exciting topics and guests and things I really think are like what the community's been looking for, what other people are looking for. So I'm super excited to be doing this video. And the guys too.
No, I agree. And I think the listeners will be in for a treat because we can ramble and argue with the best of them, to be honest with you. And so, but first off, me and Christy are experienced profitable traders, just to kind of give you all a little background. And while Christy has a lot more years under her belt than me, I think that's a good thing whenever we approach certain topics, since we're on different timelines of our trading journeys. It'll give different perspectives of things. We might see things differently. And that will lead to some fun and some controversial topics for sure, where we go on debates for hopefully not hours like usual. But these topics, like Christy kind of went over, we'll be doing general trading ideas and concepts, such as like how to gain your edge. It could be how the process of creating and developing strategies, because me and Christy also do that. The same way as trading styles that we like and that we don't like, to give kind of perspective on those things. And just as simple as learning how to properly execute trades and conquering your mental, because that's like one big thing that a lot of traders kind of struggle with. And still, like, it's still a thing that I'm still battling. But at the end of the day, it's all educational. And we want you to leave the podcast with a few nuggets of wisdom and knowledge. That way you can carry that over into your trading journeys for yourself. And so lastly, before we start, we will be uploading 1 weekly podcast every single Monday, and from here on out, unless we specify. So it will be releasing on all the major podcasting apps, such as like Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and YouTube. But YouTube's a little bit special, as the people on YouTube can probably tell by now. Not only will be releasing the audio, but we also have our cams on. That way you can actually watch us and you can see our general expressions. And so I think that'll kind of bring it, like, it'll make it a little more homey, give it a good vibe. So that way, whenever we pop jokes at each other, you can kind of actually feel like you're there, which I'm super excited to do. So if that's something that you're interested in, at watching our faces for about an hour, I mean, feel free to come join on the fun on YouTube.
Yeah, so I'm going to cut Jay off because we'll go on forever if not, and this will never get recorded. So let's just jump right into the episode as far as what we're going to be doing with you guys today. So before we actually got into the podcast, we felt like it would be important to introduce ourselves and give you guys an idea of like who we truly are, as far as like why even listen to us, what do we do, where did we come from. And we wanted you guys to be able to like get to know us a little bit better. You also have Arty and Brutus here on the call with us, who we will introduce you guys to, get to know them a little bit better. Myself, Arty and Brutus, we are the 3 founding owners of the Trading Floor company. So we thought that it would be really good that you guys kind of get to know us a little bit, know why you should even talk to us, listen to us, hear from us. Like, what are our stories? I think that it's really interesting for you guys to listen to from all of our points of view, because all of us have a different background as to how we got into trading, different levels of experience, like where we came from and why. So I think we can probably get started with that. Maybe.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's get straight into it. So again, guys, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast today. Me and Christy really appreciate it.
For real.
And,
like, I know how busy these guys are, so like I truly do appreciate you guys.
Well, I'm a narcissist, so I like to see myself on camera. So I suggest you guys watch the YouTube version of it.
Yeah, that makes sense. But
Arty is looking super sleek in this attire too. Like I feel like you came in the finest. Like I didn't know we were coming business casual. Like I
That's
feel
true. Yeah, I didn't get the memo. Even though we made the memo, I didn't get it at the same time.
Yeah.
That's the
Arty's
problem.
yacht attire is like really killing it lately. He's looking good.
I'm more casual, but no, like let's get into it. So Arty, I'm gonna start off with you. I along with everybody else, like the number one burning question everybody's wondering is like, why are you bald? Nah, I'm joking. I'm joking. So
no, there's a reason. It's because I worked with my parents in the hotel industry, and it just like migrated off of my head.
Well, first, we'll get to that soon. So, for those of you who don't know, Arty founded the Moving Average YouTube channel, and so he specializes in short form content. So, basically, what that means is he forms very compact videos that are easy to digest and easy to comprehend. And I'll let him go into more detail now about that. So, Arty, floor is yours.
Yeah, so essentially I love information, and so when I get into something or something attracts me, I devour everything that the internet has to offer on the topic, and then I have this innate ability to regurgitate that information in like actual English where you could understand it within 5 minutes. It's like the elevator pitch. And because of that and people's short attention span, the YouTube videos work really, really well because the videos are anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes long, and it's enough to get a sense of what I'm talking about, but then enticing enough to dive deeper into it with the other videos. So it's been a compounding, amazing success story with the YouTube channel. Not my first, but definitely the more profitable version of YouTube. I tried vlogging like Casey Neistat. That didn't work. I wasn't interesting enough. But essentially the way that I got started in everything, I have a really weird journey. If you want to see the extremely long version of that, I have my why video on YouTube. But essentially I grew up, my parents are Polish immigrants. And so they're all about work and, education. So I had to go to college and I had to work every single day. And because of that, I have this ridiculous work ethic. And also I know how to hustle to make money because my dad was actually doing Forex before it was even a thing. He would, in Poland, as like a 9 and 10-year-old, wait for tourist buses to land and exchange currency between different countries. He was like a straight up gangster hustler. There's a picture of him at like age 9 smoking a cigarette in front of some steps, like really, really old school gangster. And just through the work ethic and then constantly looking for the thing that can generate the most amount of money with the least amount of effort, but that is a skill set that's hard to come by, I started to build my wealth and brain through that process. So to cut this story to the short form version, my parents bought a hotel with the American dream to make a bunch of money. I worked in that hotel for a very long time and hated every single minute of it. And then when I finished that, I went to college at UNLV and did every single job under the sun and got my degree in hospitality management, which teaches you about retail, restaurants, casinos, hotel. And I had the whole world in front of me. And everybody told me that education was like the number one thing. And without a degree, you can't get a good job. But then after I finished every single job that I could have gotten without a degree. And so I was a little bit upset about that. Plus it was like the peak of the housing market crash. And so there was no jobs anywhere. And I moved back home and started running. My parents had 2 hotels at that time. So I was running one, they were running the other one. And after 4 years of just the worst, all the hair fell out, all of it just gone. And so we had natural disasters, which messed with the tourist season and our income. And we were going to foreclose on one. So I was like, cool, let's just foreclose on one and then I'll go do my thing in Vegas. I'll figure it out. And so I moved back to Vegas, and it was so nice to have normal bills again. Like, $100 for your phone bill and $100 for your water bill. And I got a job as a limo driver. And then a lot of the other limo drivers were real estate agents. So I ended up getting my real estate license. Then I started private chauffeuring. And then that got really big. And then I realized I hated real estate because people's houses are really dirty, like gross dirty. And I didn't like that. Plus there was a lot of tire kickers, and I don't like wasting my time and or other people's. And then I got fired from being a limo driver because of my aggressive driving. Not my fault. I had to get to the airport because a flight was landing. And so I started driving Uber, and I realized that if I put in the hours and start and work when nobody else was working, I could get all of the rides. And so for 2 years straight, I worked 12 to 15-hour days every single day, and I made a killing. And because of that, I was able to save money, build other businesses, start doing like e-commerce, drop shipping, start filming YouTube videos. And it was just try everything type of path and see what sticks. And then got married, wife got pregnant, and I moved to Poland. So basically everything that I'd learned for 30 years was null and void because I was going to the other half of the earth, and I had to refigure out how to make money. And the one consistent through that was YouTube. So I just kept making YouTube videos, raising my daughter, driving Uber in Poland. And through one of my videos, I went a little bit viral. It was 10 things I like and 10 things I don't like about living in Poland. And a dude saw that video that had a company in Krakow, and he asked me if I wanted to come to lunch. I was like, hell yeah, any opportunity is better than what I got going on right now. And he owned a cryptocurrency exchange, which was a scam, by the way. I didn't know that at the time. And I thought it would be a good, I could test my marketing skills and basically fake it till I make it. I knew YouTube algorithms and like how to rank, but not as well as I needed to for a big company. And so for the next 2 years, year and a half, I basically was the face of their YouTube channel, made 1 to 3 videos a day, every single day, Monday through Friday. And through that process, I got better on camera. I learned everything there is to know about cryptocurrencies. And to make the content better, I learned how to day trade, because people were asking me constantly, what do I think the price of Bitcoin is going to do? And I had no idea. I had no idea how to analyze the charts, nothing. And so I started just like any one of you guys. I looked at a line chart, and then I transitioned into candlesticks. And then I realized there's a whole plethora of things that come along with it. And it was a topic that interests me. And so I dove deep. Basically, I would get to work early, do everything that I needed to do within 90 minutes. And I would spend the other 6.5 hours learning and studying and practicing and demoing and losing a bunch of money along the way, because nobody ever told me it's good to demo until you're profitable. And so that
until now.
Yeah. And so I had amassed, because I saw the crypto market drop that Black Thursday in March of 2020. And I was like, cool, this is an opportunity that's not going to happen very often. And so I just got as much crypto as I could and just like kept buying it. And then once during that process, I was getting better at trading. And then I was like, cool, I have a bunch of crypto. I think the market's going to tank. And so I sold everything on spot, not leverage, spot exchange, sold all of my cryptocurrencies, started to go against me. I was like, oh, I'm fucked. And then it just dumped. And within an hour and a half, I was watching the charts all day waiting for this move. And within an hour and a half at like 10 p.m. or something, I ended up making, I want to say close to $15,000, $16,000 in an hour and a half. And my wife's rule to quit my job was to have X amount in the bank. And so I did that in one trade. And I was like,
Let's go.
So to clarify though, $16,000 might not sound like a ton to some people,
Yeah.
but depending on where you live, to other people it might sound like a lot. But for Arty, to put in perspective for those people who live like here in the US, times that by 4, and that's like how much he made. Because like the equivalent in Poland is roughly about times 4 for like a US dollar. So that's a decent amount of money to live off. Because I don't want some people to be like, I mean, I don't know if I can.
No, so it was the equivalent of like 60,000 Polish currency, and a normal paying job, like at a grocery store, whatever, is like 3,000 a month. So that set me up for a year with a normal job and just having a normal, basic, you know, everyday Joe lifestyle. And so that gave me the opportunity to quit that job and then rent an office, because I can't work at home because kid and yelling and screaming. I need my focus space. And so I rented an office and I was just like, I'm going to focus on day trading. And I started focusing on day trading. I was making relatively good money, maybe like $1,000 to $1,500. And so through that process, a lot of people were asking me like, oh, how do you do this? How do you read the chart? How do you do a trend line? Like, what is this? What is this Fibonacci thing that you're doing? And so instead of continuing to explain myself over and over and over to other people, I decided that I'm just going to record a video and then share it to those 15 people that are asking questions. I was like, that's a YouTube channel. And it just took off. Like what I started March 10th last year.
2021.
Yeah. So
literally the beginning of
a year and a half, and I'm at almost 500,000 subscribers. That doesn't happen.
Casual. That's casual.
Yeah.
No,
I knew Arty. I knew Arty when he started his channel. So like Arty and I, you know, I've been around since the beginning with him with his channel. And I remember him talking about starting it. And I was like, oh, like, okay. Thinking like, you know, like, yeah, good luck with that, kid. But then I watched one video from him. It wasn't even about trading. I think it might have been your expat video, or maybe it was the Uber video or something. Anyway, I remember thinking, oh, this guy's good. Like, this guy's way better than I expected. And I knew then, I was like, if he can do like explain trading this way and dumb it down, like simplify how difficult some people can make it and then simplify it in a compact way, I was like, he's going to be unstoppable. So I definitely like remember thinking, yeah, he's definitely going to make it. We had bets though, which is funny. I don't know if you remember, Arty, but like,
I have them written down.
Like, yeah.
How long it would take me to get to 10,000 subscribers, and you said a year.
A year, because that's like, that was still even good. That's still even good for a normal YouTuber. So it blew my mind, like when you were at like 100K in like 6 months, less than 6 months. But yeah, congratulations, because you definitely are talented when it comes to the content creating. I know, and Brutus know like how difficult content creating can be if you're not like as natural at it as you are. So huge congratulations to you on that, because that's really impressive what you've done with that.
Thanks.
I can't wait for you to get 1 million. I don't know what you get for 1 million subscribers, but we'll have to have like a party.
A big gold picture.
What is it?
It's like a gold plaque. It's like
gold
the silver plaque.
I already got the silver one. I actually have a mini replica that somebody made me as a gift.
Oh,
that's actually pretty cool.
Come on, YouTube, send a bonus check.
Come on, man. No, but like. No, but like really, Arty, that's like awesome. And I think the problem a lot of people have is they always focus kind of on the end result. So they see you now and it's like, well, it must be nice that like you have your YouTube channel, you're successful. But as you've just explained here, it's like you literally started from nothing and became something because you grinded to that point. I feel like people kind of forget to be like, we all start somewhere. We all start at zero, and they just see like, oh yeah, it must be nice to have that YouTube channel. So like, it's cool that you're able to come on here and like kind of portray your story out to people to like let them know it's like, if I could do this, y'all can too, you know? Yeah. So
the one piece of advice I have for anybody is be ridiculously stubborn and never give up. Cause I've literally been at like rock bottom 4 or 5 times in my life. And I know that it always just gets better.
Yeah. Like Jay just said, a lot of people tend to say like, must be nice, or you guys are so lucky. But like, you guys don't see what we've all been through to get to this point. And I know how many hours Arty puts in, and like how many times he's tried or failed at something, or myself, or same thing with Brutus and Jay as well. So, you know, it's not nice when we're failing too. Like, we're all human too. And all we can say is like, I think every one of us is really stubborn. and very
yeah.
persistent. And like we refuse to fail. So it's like you fail, okay, fine, knock me down, I get back up again like 2 times harder. Like I'm coming back for it. So it's like that's the one thing I think most people who are self-made in some way are probably all have that in common. Like you don't just accept the failure and be like, oh, I can't do it. Like you figure out a way around it. And Arty, I mean, as he said, he's done that. Like he had a couple of tries and attempts and it didn't go the way he had hoped, but like finally he like found a way to make it work. And like when he was recording 3 videos a day and everyone else must be nice, it's like, it's not nice when it's 12 hours in an office and I'm recording and editing. So people think it's
the
so
editing.
easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
We want to talk to Brutus? Maybe
Yeah.
we'll move
So yeah, we're gonna move on to Brutus. So what's up, brother? I basically see you as the Baywatch of Britain because you're the only lifeguard that I personally know that came from there. But basically, Brutus
the only
transitioned
lifeguard Jay
from.
wants to save them. That's what it meant.
But Brutus basically transitioned from saving people's lives, potentially drowning in water, to saving people's money in the markets. You see,
That's good. It's clever.
see what I did there. But hey,
do not
but, like,
encourage this, please.
but I mean, what's up, brother? How you been, man?
Yeah, all good. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I think it's, as you guys were saying, it's something that was kind of overdue. And I think, people really wanted to see like the team, behind what we have going on here, because we all kind of do our like separate things in terms of, video making and the content and stuff. But, I think we all just, like, I'm kind of new to this group, more so than Christy and Arty anyway. But, I think as Christy was saying, in order to conduct this kind of lifestyle, you do need to have similar traits and characteristics. And that's why I feel like I really slot in, quite well, despite, you could say, the age gap or experience gap. For anyone wondering, I'm like 21, university student. So, I feel like despite the age and experience gap, like the characteristics that I kind of possessed enabled me like to be in this situation now. And, I guess as a backstory, because people always say, how did you learn all this stuff at such a young age? Or, you must have like had some, like rich family that kind of set you up with a trading account or something. But, so I grew up in just a average family. Like I had a very comfortable life. It wasn't anything extravagant, just, kind of standard, I guess. So it definitely wasn't anything that came from that side of things. I started working at 16. I was a waiter, just, again, just normal stuff, saving up. And then for a few years in my life, I was doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, and I kind of lost my way a bit. And eventually, without going into too much detail, I got caught, and I had to spend some time, thinking about the things that I was doing. And after that, it was such a earth like shattering moment, especially seeing my parents and how, disappointed they were and stuff, that, it was from that point that I decided to make a change, because it was, that one kick I needed, especially because I always knew that, I'm quite smart, I guess. I'm quite good with my brain. I know how to, I was quite good at school and stuff, quite articulate. So I knew that I had more potential. And, this current route that I was going down, I was only really interested in it because of the environment that I grew up in. In the part of London where I grew up, it's like fairly rough, and, my classmates were getting into stuff like that. So, so I needed that, significant moment to happen in order for me to get my life on track. So I finished school, and then I took a year off, and I was working as a lifeguard during this time. I wanted to travel. That was kind of my whole thing. And it's funny because I signed up to this program where you go and travel with a charity, and you build like water, you build like wells, and you paint schools and stuff. So I was going to go to Madagascar, and my whole thing was, I'm going to keep working as a lifeguard, save up. And I think the cost of the program was about £8,000. which at the time it required that I had to work 6 days a week, 8-hour shifts for the next 6 months just to be able to save up for it, which, of course it's a lot of money, but especially seeing what I can do now, it's crazy to think that I was really, really, I cut off my entire life, like no social life, no anything. I just had to work to save up for this trip. And so I was doing that until eventually, a dream that I've always had as a kid, ever since I was 10, 11 or 12, I was even saying to my parents and stuff, I want to be able to earn money from anywhere in the world as long as I had a laptop and an internet connection. So that was something that I was saying from literally 12 years old. And I always thought that it was going to be through YouTube of some kind. I was into fitness before. I thought I'd be a fitness YouTuber or something. So I had a bunch of different things that I was thinking of. Yeah. Well, I'll start doing. I'll start doing some workout vlogs and stuff. But but I always had this kind of drive and this vision in the back of my mind to be, self-made, self-sufficient, but to be versatile, mobile in the way that I could work online, basically. And I never quite found like the avenue that was going to allow me to do that. I thought it was YouTube of some kind, until I was just in a group chat one day, and I saw someone posting screenshots of their trading and their profits, just kind of off the cuff, just some random discussion. And as soon as I saw it, I knew that was for me, because it's all quite logical and technical, and that's how I am. I'm quite I think in kind of straight lines, and everything is quite methodical. If you guys have seen my content, I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Everything's very logical and technical. And I saw this and I thought it's the perfect marriage of things that I'm interested in. It's, a way of making money online. And also I was interested in the financial sector, in banking, in the markets. I'm studying economics at uni, so you can kind of guess how that ties in there. So it just seemed like the perfect solution. And then from that point, I just I got completely invested in it, but I didn't have any money, right? Because I was just I was a lifeguard. Except I'd been saving up for this trip, and it was quite a significant choice that I had to make. Would I rather spend £8,000 on this trip that would last 2 months, or would I put it into my education, like into furthering, my trading knowledge and like to fund an account, basically? So long story short, I put it into an account and I lost all of it within 2 weeks. So this was money that I'd spent. Yeah. So this was money that I'd spent, 6 days a week for 6 or 7 months straight working for. And I lost it all within 2 weeks. And at the time, £8,000 for like an 18-year-old is a massive amount of money. It still is a large amount of money for most people, but even so when you're a student. And looking back on it, of course, it's easy to say that I'm grateful it happened, but really it hit me so hard that it resulted, I had to borrow some money from my girlfriend, like just to feed myself, which it was soul shattering, really, because you might call me a bit old fashioned or something, but I felt as a man, I had to provide for myself at the very least. Like I should be able to put food on my table. So, to go to my girlfriend to ask for money, really, it hit, it kind of flicked a switch. And I think, honestly, all the psychological lessons I've ever learned regarding trading came from that moment when I was, I was so kind of low and just absolutely defeated, that it made me immune and completely numb to anything afterwards. Because for me, that was like the worst it could ever get. Then I essentially went back to work, kept educating myself, and I made my first bit of money on stocks. So I got into Tesla before their 5-to-1 stock split. I got into GameStop at $18, which was like pretty crazy, because that went all the way to, yeah. So that went all the way to about 400, I think. So I made some money through that. made some money through Tesla. I mean, it was kind of at a time that, 2018, 2019 era, you could kind of buy anything and you would make some money in the long term. So yeah, then I spent 2 years on a demo account, and I had built my stock portfolio up to about £30,000, which is a lot of money. But that was through my job plus, compounding on top with my wages, basically. And then from there, I funded my own account. And yeah, the rest is history. So, if I wanted to give like a synopsis and just a closing message, I have like a troubled past in terms of, like, there are some things, legally that restrict me from normal, like avenues, if that makes sense. But I think hopefully it just goes to show that you can, if you really apply yourself, you can kind of, you can create your own reality. This is the life that I visioned and I dreamed of. And I, of course, with the help of others and stuff, but I made it my real life instead of a vision, regardless of the stuff that I got caught up in the past, regardless of, not having any like handouts or anything. And hopefully as well, my age. So if there's some younger people out there as well, don't give up. And I think find a way to apply your time in a more productive manner. There's no need to go out every single, like 3 times a week, especially in the UK, right? I mean, the culture here is we go drinking a lot and just kind of messing around. So even if it's just 1 day a week, just find something to apply yourself to. And, I was kind of broke at like 19 and, like things have improved.
And now you're here.
Since then. Well, exactly. So, yeah. And,
being stubborn, I'm telling you, it's such a good trait to have.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my story. Thanks for listening.
No, appreciate that.
I would say for Brutus, the thing is, obviously he works with Arty and I now, and we have been together. We met in an older community, and Arty and I have known each other longer, like he said, and we do have a little more experience. But the thing that stuck out with us with Brutus, like, it wasn't that we kind of wanted to like take not like mom and dad, but kind of are like mom and dad. We're like, we want to take him in because he showed such potential at such a young age, where we're like, this kid wants it. Like, this kid really will work. Like, there were things that really did stick out with him. And as he said, like, where he was trying to put himself in positions and get to know people who have done things that he wanted to do, instead of like partying every night. And like, he is at university living, I don't know what you guys call them there, but like dorms or whatever. Like, you're living there and you can hear, like, I remember one time he called me and I could hear people partying in the background. And I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, it's a Friday night. And he was literally like working on content. And I was like, that's a kid who's grinding. Like, when you can hear like all your friends are out partying and there's that like pressure, peer pressure from other people to go out and do these things, and he's like sitting there working on content on a Friday night. Like, it was impressive, where I was like, good for you. Like, you have your priorities in the right place. And like, that was, I think, I don't know, 2 years or something ago now. So like, he has really definitely like impressed us as far as like his drive to do it. So like he said, it's not really an age thing. I mean, there is certain things when it comes to age and experience that you will grow into, but for him, like, just the fact that he just has that drive, that desire, like you said, like, he's stubborn. Like, he won't take no for an answer. Like, he won't stop pushing, even if we like get on him, and we do. Like, I know I do. Like, I'll be like, no, but like, he does it, and I really do. I think it's admirable at times, like, how dedicated he is for his age, like, and has been since we've met him.
Yeah.
Like, over the last 2 years, we've really seen him grow, which is really
When I was
great.
21, I was a fuck up in Las Vegas. So
Exactly.
But like, I think the main takeaway from this that a lot of people can get from Brutus, especially, and this is what I commend you for, is the fact that even through everything you're doing now, you're still finding time to be a full-time student. And I feel like a lot of people at this day and age, especially wanting to get into trading, are like, okay, this is my plan A. I have no plan B. If I don't make it, then I'm going to figure out how to make it. But then they dig themselves a hole because they put so much pressure on themselves that they don't need to have. And like any successful trader, you can ask them is like, how are they able to cope with like all the losses and deal with all the anxiety and things like that? It's the fact that we all have different streams of income. At the end of the day, if we have a bad trading day, week, or month, we still have other things to fall back on. It's the fact that if you only have one stream, each 2, 3, 4 losing streak matters so much to you, even though logically and subconsciously, you know that on average from your testing that the month will bounce back in your favor. It just hits different because you don't have anything else to like rely on. So like I said, props to you, and I commend you for like staying full time.
I think, you know, being solely a trader, like 100% of your income, as you know, as Jay was saying, I think that's quite a poor decision to make. I think despite the returns you can make, you know, you are like constantly risking your own capital. Of course, if it's a funded account, that's slightly different, but you can blow it just as easily. Even if you've been like trading, you know, profitably on it for 6-7 months, all it takes is that 1 month like to kind of blow it, right? So to be solely a trader, I think it takes away from like the point of what we teach, which is more like entrepreneurship and general, you know, money management. I think that's what we, you know, financial literacy, I think, is what I'm a massive, you know, pusher of. Is even in my streams, if I'm talking about trading, I'm saying, you know, like from this move, I'm going to diversify the profit into my crypto portfolio. I recently actually, I just completed, you know, my first deal with property. I didn't buy a property, but I was a joint investor, and I'm going to make returns on that, you know, and it's just
that's cool.
Yeah, and
congratulations. Real
thanks.
estate where you make your money. That's where you should put.
So, you know, just like financial literacy, I think is like the main thing. Don't, as Jay was saying, only being a trader and having nothing else going on is really dangerous. Set yourself up in such a way that if it all fails, you can pay the bills. So I'm still going to get a degree, you know, regardless of all this stuff. So if in 5 years' time, you know, I want to go the traditional route, I still can. I haven't closed that option off. Or, you know, from the profits I make in Forex, I build up a crypto portfolio, a stock portfolio, a property portfolio. And I think trading is the number one way to generate just lump sums of capital. I think it's the most efficient way of like just purely making money. But then what you do with it makes it even more powerful, because you have these, you know, lump sums that you don't really get anywhere else, that you can then put into other things and just completely set yourself up. So especially, you know, for the younger people listening, but for everyone as well, really set yourself up first, and then use the profits from your Forex to put into different avenues. Like that would be my kind of, you know, final piece of advice.
100%. I actually discussed that in my live stream today, because I follow a bunch of the billionaires and like really, really, really wealthy people. And they all start with a cash flow business, and then they take that cash flow and then they put it into properties, and then they have cash flow coming from rental properties. And then as 30 years goes by, they have 7,000 rental properties, and their cash flow is ridiculous. And the amount of credit that they could pull off of their assets gets them more assets, and they literally live off of just healthy debt, but they're billionaires. Like that's the level that I want to get to.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. We'll talk about this probably in another podcast where we can go a little more into detail, because people are always wondering what we do. Why do we do other stuff other than trading? People are always asking that. Like, you're so good. Like, if you guys are so good, why do you have to do anything else? And it's like, are you that closed-minded? Like, to me, I'm like, you must not know how to like manage your money, because of course we're going to do other things that bring in income for us. That's how you create sustainable wealth. And if one, like you guys are saying, if 1 month is bad in trading, that's okay, because you have other income coming in. Like, there's always this balance of like, take what you make, like Brutus is saying, take those lump sums and invest it into something else. And I think that that's something that really isn't talked about enough in the trading world, where people just like focus on becoming a professional trader, but they don't realize like the goal isn't to just make the lump sums of money and just like survive off of it. The idea is that you should take that money and find ways to have it like bring you returns back. So yeah, definitely another podcast. I think it would be awesome to talk about what each of us do, because we all do a little bit of different stuff, but everybody is doing very well. So
that is a potential topic coming in the future. And Arty and Brutus, if they want to, will probably be coming on to talk about like what they do to like the post of, okay, I've made the money. What do I do with it now? Because that's the beginning.
I'm 100% down. My main thing is like, if I ever go blind, how am I going to trade? If I have other assets generating revenue, I could be blindish.
All right. So now we're going to move on to Christina.
Not my name.
No, I mean, it could be. It could be. But
He loves to make my name up. It's fine.
Debatable. So she's my fellow co-host for the podcast, and she honestly has done things that people truly dream of when to become like as a trader. I truly mean this when I say this. I love to joke around and I love to argue with her, but like she's probably one of the best persons. She's probably one of the best people and trader that I've met in my journey through this entire time. And just recently, just to kind of give you all some proof and perspective of things, in August, TTF, or the Trading Floor Community Group on Discord, we launched a strategy competition called TTF Strat Wars in August. And so ran by me, Commissioner Jay, obviously. I run those things. But,
Jay loves to plug this any chance he gets. Just FYI.
I love it. And so, long story short, what it came down to, we have basically 6 like kind of generic strats here at TTF, and you chose a team kind of like Harry Potter almost in the sense, and then you traded for that team the entire month. You had to stay true to the plan, no strategy hopping involved at all. But Christy was able to literally be profitable every single day. She was 23 of 23, no blemishes. I think maybe you lost 2 trades. You had 2 trades lost.
Yeah, I had 2 losses during the month.
Still positive days throughout the entire month.
Yeah.
It was dumb. It was actually
what was the earning number? Like the total?
Oh,
I'm curious.
So I didn't share that number.
I'm curious.
Spill the tea. Spill the tea.
Jay actually has the total. I think it's about 65, something like around there. I took a withdrawal halfway through the month, which like next strategy wars, I'll make sure I don't do it because it messes up like my monthly when I was like scrolling through the monthly to show like this isn't just a bunch of random, like, because people love to obviously try to like call you out on shit, but I was like scrolling through to show like this is the monthly on my MT4. You can see everything, but I did take a withdrawal halfway through. So next month I'll make sure I don't do it. But I mean, this comes down to just the way I am. Like I never keep too much capital in my accounts because I do trade with unregulated brokers. It's a whole nother podcast thing, but it's something that I preach and I practice myself, that I don't ever keep more capital with my brokers than I'm willing to like part with. So I did take a withdrawal because trading every day, like that's a lot for me. I don't trade every day. So the challenge was definitely a challenge for me too. So it was fun, but it was definitely a challenge to wake up every day. Jay has heard me every morning bitching about having to wake up.
I've basically been a 24/7 therapist at this point for the past year.
At the end of the month, he definitely was.
I'm basically I'll put in the work. I'll be getting my PhD soon, and I'll be able to practice. So if you're looking for a therapist, I mean, especially trading, like just hit me up. But
I mean, Jay knows it was a challenge for me, but I wanted it that way. I didn't want to go in with something I knew I could do well with. I kind of wanted to make it as fair as possible and actually trade something that I was comfortable-ish with, because Stairmaster is a breakout strategy. It's similar to how I like to trade, but as far as the actual strategy goes, it wasn't something I really did use that much. And then I like put myself on 1 minute time frame, which we had never tested or worked with. So that was kind of like a different challenge for me to try and figure out how to make it work on 1 minute time frame. And I pretty much stayed on 1 minute or 5 minute every now and then, every single day. So I did not take like 15 minute.
True. And on top of that, Christy also has a YouTube channel where she's done videos explaining how she was able to do that month. And then also like her videos are a lot different from Arty's, so fair warning, where she's more like lecture style. She's more lecture style based, where instead of Arty's like 5 to 10-minute videos where they're really condensed. Christie's, I mean, I'm in some of the videos too, and like we just talk for literally hours, and it could be days, but it's more like 45, it's more like 30 to an hour long videos, but it's a lot of information. We'd like to go over all the scenarios that could possibly happen, and like it's important to kind of like just basically kind of be in the minds of how we kind of view the markets in that sense. And so her YouTube is very good for that if you really want like detailed explanations for things. So, but
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
that's
go follow
enough.
her, not me. She's better.
No, I like that all three of us actually have YouTubes, but we all do have a different style, and that like mine are more lecture based and I go into detail. Artie's are very condensed. If you want the information in 10 minutes or less, he's giving it to you in 10 minutes or less. And then we have Brutus, who does like a lot of lives, which is good because you get to see him in live and like real time, his thought process as to like how he's doing it. So it's nice that there's like a variety as to like our styles. And I think it really shows even in our trading, like how we all like to trade too. So, but yeah, so I'll let you keep going, Jay, sorry. But yeah, everybody has a YouTube, go check them out.
Keep hyping yourself up. It's fine. No, but just on the YouTube topic, before I forget, we will be linking Arty and Bruce's YouTubes down below, so you're able to check them out as well. So feel free to do that if you're interested. But I mean, that's enough of hyping Christy up. Like she doesn't need anything more than that. But Christina, how did you get to the position where you're at? And like, what makes you tick?
So gosh, my story is totally different than the guys too, which again, kind of cool. Everybody has different backgrounds, but I never knew anything about business or finance or trading. I actually came from nursing. My first degree and my first like real career was nursing. And here in the US, if anybody's from US or knows people from US went through the educational system, finance is like not talked about at all. Business is never talked about. Like I never once took a business or finance class. I know nothing about it. I didn't even take economics in school, like ever. I literally just took sciences, and that was all like you had to know. You know, you had to know what you had to know for your career, and that was it. So when I decided to find trading, I really had no clue what I was getting into. I definitely would thought it was going to be easier than it was, but I am a living testament to the fact that if I can do it with literally no background, like you guys can do it too. Like if you are like, oh, I don't know anything about like finance or anything in that world, like you'll be okay. I promise. It might take you a little bit longer, but you definitely can do it. As far as my like whole reason as to getting into it, nursing here in the US is actually a pretty good job. So I can't say that it was like bad. I had a good career. I was pretty middle class. Like that's, you know, not a bad place to be here in the US. But if you ever like, if you're in the US or you know people from the US, if you've ever heard somebody say like they're middle class poor, I was like the epitome of middle class poor. And what I mean by that is like, I went to school, I did everything correct that like society says I should be doing. And I came out of school and literally like on my graduation day, I was $180,000 in debt the day I graduated, just for the fact that I went to school to work in society and like give back to society. And like, I just remember like being excited, like I was about to start my career, but at the same time being like, this is absurd, like, but whatever. And then everybody along the way that I had talked to was like, it's okay. Like student loan debt, that's okay. That's normal, good, healthy debt. And I'm like, okay, like just kind of like blindly taking advice of what other people had kind of told me was normal to do. And then obviously the next thing was like buying a house. So I have $180,000 in debt and student loan. And then I went and bought my first house. That was like another $200,000. So like I'm already like $380,000, almost $400,000 in debt. And then comes like the car. You know, everybody's like, well, you got to get a car. You're like, you know, I was a nurse. I had to be at the hospital. Hospitals don't close. They don't care if it snows or whatever. So I needed a reliable car. So then I like remember getting a car and having almost like a $400 car payment or something every month. And like my debt to income ratio, like it wasn't bad. Like I was able to afford my life, but like the debt was like never ending. This like world of like, oh, just finance everything. And I remember just being like, this is insane. after a couple of years of working, everybody on paper looks at you and is like, you make really good money. And I did. But for at the time I made like, middle class good money. But I remember being like, this is like, I'm never going to get out of debt. And then looking around and being like, I'm going to be doing this for the next 30 years because I have a mortgage and I have student loans. And these are all 30 years that I had to pay these things. And after a couple of years, I was like, all right, I really want to figure out like, how can I fix this? How can I get out of these debts faster? Because I did not want to be the person who's like working till they were 70. Like they're, God bless those people who do it. But like, I was like, no way, especially because of the job I had. Like these are 13-hour days. You're standing all day long. Like, it was a hard job. And I was like, there's no way I can do this. I couldn't do it in my 30s. So I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do it in my 70s. So I remember really wanting to get into like figure out how to fix my debt and having somebody sit down with me and basically explain to me like how I was paying things. And I know this sounds so dumb to people who like know this world, but I truly didn't understand interest and like what that meant. So I remember looking at it and being like, but if I'm paying, and this is no lie, this is a real number. If I was paying $1,500 a month to my student loans for 30 years. So for 30 years of my life, I had to pay $1,500 a month to them. And I was like, if I'm paying $1,500 and I'm like doing all the math in my head, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, why am I not getting this loan paid off way sooner? And then they're like, well, the interest. And I was like, well, what the hell? What the hell is that? Like, no lie, no joke. I really didn't understand it. And it just wasn't taught to me like that. People just said, you're fine. And I just paid bills. So I remember sitting down with somebody who was explaining to me how some of it goes to a principal and some of it goes to interest and some goes here and there and whatever, fees, whatever. And I was like, whoa, this interest is outrageous. And basically I realized I'm paying thousands and thousands of dollars every month in like interest to all these people. And like, it's not even touching these actual bills. So long story short, I was like, I need to figure out how to be that person that retires at 40. I need to stop taking advice from these people who are retiring at 70, because clearly these people retiring at 70 are just like in this hamster wheel, like, doing what society wants them to do. And I was like, I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person who's retiring at 40 at my job. So I was like, where are they and what do they know? So I did have one. I had one lady who was retiring at 40 and I was like, what are you doing? And she wasn't really much help. She basically was like, my husband's rich. So she's like,
it's a good avenue. It's a good avenue. I would
she
do it.
told me marry well.
Goals.
Yeah. She basically gave me the I hope you marry well situation. And I did not get that. But basically I was like, well, what does your husband do? So she was like, oh, he did well in stocks. So of course I was like, oh, duh, stocks. Like, of course, like I knew what the stock market was. So I was like, oh, I'm going to do what every other person does. And I went to Google. I was like, hey, Google, like, how do I make money trading stocks? And Google was like, whoa. And it was like, open this like warp hole, I feel like. And it just like fell down this rabbit hole of information that I was like not prepared for. But it took me down the YouTube algorithm of just hot mess of everything. I think in one day, I remember like binging for hours, like, oh God, I went from stocks to penny stocks to options, to binary options. Like I went through all of these things. And then I remember watching somebody's video on Forex and everything else was just like way over my head. There was like things about calls and all these terms that they're just telling you. There's like some expired things and there's times. And I was like, I don't understand any of this stuff. But I remember watching this Forex video and the one thing that I really stuck out to me and like was like, oh, I want to do that was the stop loss. And it was like something as stupid as like I remember watching him move a stop loss to being like break even. And I was like, oh my God, I got so excited. I was like, wait, like I can be wrong on the overall move, but still somehow make money. I was like, this is amazing.
That stonks.
Yeah. I was like, even if I just put it like just move it really quick, I'll be fine every time. Obviously I wasn't. It took 2.5 years to get profitable. But it was that like for me, it was that risk management that was just huge. I was like, oh, this is what I want. I want to be in a market that like I can control my risk a little bit better. I've grown to understand the other markets over time, but initially it was Forex that brought me into trading. And like everyone else is saying, like, it took me time. It was not lucky. I am not a natural. I've been doing this since 2015. So, I mean, it's been years for me now. And it took me about 2.5 years of full time, like dedicating every spare moment I had to learning trading. And then I was like starting to get consistently profitable about 2.5 years in, and not what I make now. I think people like assume, oh, 2.5 years and I'll be making like Christy money. Like, you're not. I made, like, when I say consistently profitable, my goal when I first started trading was literally to make $50 a day. All I wanted to make was $50 a day. I was like, if I can make $50 a day, it's $250 a week. That's $1,000 extra a month. That's that at that time, that was life-changing money that I could take that $1,000 and throw it on one of my loans to try and like pay ahead. That was in my head all I ever wanted to achieve. Obviously, I've come a far way since then, but and every time I would reach a goal, I would just make like a new goal, a little bit higher. I never set out to be like the Lambo driving person or, live in mansions or whatever these people showing. Like, my true goal was just to obtain financial freedom. Like, I wanted to live debt free and have financial freedom and like the ability to choose when I do and don't work and stuff like that. So for me, that's really like, I mean, I've been able to do it, but like we kind of were saying, I didn't walk away from a job. Like, I didn't wake up and was like, all right, I'm quitting my job, I'm going to trade Forex. Like, I worked full time for 5 of those years, like still full time making my normal income, and then was still making a little bit extra. Then I slowly started going like part-time and like walking away. But as we've already said, like, I still keep a plan B. Like, I still keep my nursing license active. I won't ever give that up. Like, that is a backup plan for me in case, God forbid, something ever happens. Like, it's another potential source of income for me. So not to like go back to that, but for those of you guys who are like, oh, I'm just going to quit, I'm going to give up everything. Like, I really would recommend you don't do that until you've been consistently profitable for a little while and until you have multiple streams of income coming in. Because I did not walk away until I had at least 3 streams of income coming in. And then I was like, okay, it's time where I can like step aside. But
Yeah,
I still.
So don't do what I did and quit the second you make a profit.
No, but to be fair though, Arty, you were in a very different situation where you're in a country where like you don't really have a choice. Like, I'm in a country where my degree is fine, it applies. Like, there was no reason for me to do it. If I had to go to another country, like, it would be different. You were more limited over in Poland when you went.
Plus, I'm different, and that restriction motivated me more than you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
Like, it was, die or succeed. That's
I
it.
think that's gonna hold me down.
All right, so do as Brutus and I say, not as Arty. No, I'm just kidding. Arty's done really well for himself, but you have a motivation in that you have a daughter and you have a wife, you have a family you have to make it for. Like, it's just, everybody has their own reasons for it. And if you have a job where you're like really miserable and you're making maybe like minimum wage and you're like, whatever, and I'm doing okay-ish with trading, it's probably better to focus on that. That's different, but I just wouldn't throw everything out until you have like an actual safety net, another safety net of some sort beyond trading, because a bad month is going to put really bad mental pressure on you, and that's going to mess things up for sure. But yeah, that's kind of my story. Like, I had no background, came into it, met these guys. I met Arty years ago. I don't even remember. Years ago I met Arty, but it's been a while I've known Arty. And then Brutus came around, like we kind of already touched on, and we were really impressed with him too and his skills. And I don't know, I think the 3 of us just had very interesting, like,
the dream
backgrounds.
team.
Yeah, like we kind of have different backgrounds. We all come from different like perspectives. We're all in different countries. Like, we never even all met each other in person, which is kind of crazy. But we all kind of have very similar goals and like work ethics. And I think that's what has driven us to be really good. And like, each of us is good at something that the other one is decent at, but is like somebody's just better at it. So I think that's when we look at it all, like, it's just like, it's a good blend for us as far as why we all came together and we're like, let's create this community. Like, this is what all of us wanted. We all kind of had the same vision, and we all had different experience, different levels, in a different relatable way for everybody, we felt like. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of my story and where it came from, where I'm at now. So Jay, that's enough about us.
Yes.
Why don't Why don't you talk about yourself? Because I know you're like dying.
Oh my
You're
God.
like, oh my God. How
Chris, I thought you would never ask. No.
I know.
So I mean, I've loved y'all's story so far, and to say the least, I've definitely been lucky from my side. I've had a more generic kind of upbringing. Like my parents, I mean, love them and thankful for them, and so I was raised nice. Like it was middle class. It wasn't crazy, but we weren't like down bad or anything. But just it was there's nothing to really talk about from my childhood. So we'll leave it at that. Maybe a different podcast for different times. But going into college though, I worked at a grocery store for 20 to 40 hours, the really shitty job that everybody loves to do. But yeah, I got through that. I graduated in 2018 in mechanical engineering, because here in Louisiana, it's kind of like oil field or nothing, oil field or bust, unless you want to move. And I mean, I like it here. So I was like, you know what, let me just try and be an engineer and do that. And so, I mean, I didn't make great choices in college. There was the points where I knew I had to open the grocery store at 4 a.m. in the morning, but I was out downtown until about 2 or 3 a.m. And I literally was driving from downtown to the store. And I was like, okay, like this has to change. This has to change for me. But working past that, after I graduated in 2018, I got on with a really big oil field and gas company as a design engineer. And so I worked with them for a couple years. And as far as we know, the oil and gas industry is very volatile. And 2020 happens with COVID. And so I found myself jobless in March of 2020. And so when I was still working there, I always felt like I had to prove myself, because I was 21, almost like a Brutus scenario, like coming into here. Like I'm 26, so I'm not much older, but it was in the sense that I was in a very big corporate world as a design engineer right outside of college, 21 years old. I'm the young gun. And it's always like in oil field, it's always like a last one in, first one out mentality. And there's layoffs that happen all the time. So I always kind of felt like pressured in the sense that I have to almost overperform above people. That way, like I can get out of the like perspective of like, oh, like this was the guy we last hired. Whenever layoffs happen again soon, like he's gone. So I was like, I always felt like I had to achieve, and it was very frustrating. And unfortunately, even though I felt that I did very well, some random person that I've never met before was like, nah, we need to make cuts because of COVID, and I became a statistic. So that kind of left me. I didn't really feel defeated. Like we've been saying before, it kind of felt like a catalyst for me. It woke me up. I was kind of used to the almost zombie kind of 9 to 5 ordeal. And I'm not trying to bash people who enjoy that lifestyle or the corporate industry for that. I mean, layoffs happen. It just is what it is. Economies like go up and down. But for me, it woke me up in the sense that I want my life's success and failures dependent on what I put in. I don't want it dependent on some random guy who's never really talked to me or knows like what I'm capable of to like decide my fate for me. And so in that instance, I transitioning into trading, get into that. My dad had been trading Forex for a few years now. And so he did it as a hobby. He has a day job. So I always knew about Forex, never really took it seriously, but I was like, you know what, like since lockdown happened, I'm like, okay, like let's just like settle in, sit down, and like for the next couple of months, I was like, let's take a crack at it. And so I started out on 4-hour price action, and then I worked my way down on the 1 hour, and then from there I developed a strategy that I would soon use in a prop firm, and I was able to pass my first prop firm and become live ever since, and I've been profitable ever since. And for those who don't really know what a prop firm is, don't worry. Very, very soon, me and Christy will be actually doing a podcast going over all of that and what that entails.
Dude, how lucky are you that your dad was a Forex trader? Like, I didn't know that this shit existed, and you're like,
I know.
Oh my God, he's doing this for years. Like,
but he did it like it wasn't like as serious he would dabble with it. He was definitely like a demo warrior, I would say. He loved to find a new strategy and like test it, and they'd be like, oh, this looks pretty good, yeah, I might try this. And then he'd move on to the next thing, like, oh, this looks pretty good, like maybe I'll go live with this. And then finally you go live and be like, yo, I made $1 today, bro. It's like,
I think it's just the
hell
fact
yeah.
that your dad even knew what Forex was. Because
Yeah.
like I think the rest of us were like, what is Forex? Literally, this is like a side note, not to interrupt short, but I didn't even hear Forex pronounced in the video. I legit called it Forex.
Forex, baby.
The very
like a
first time
dinosaur.
I remember telling my dad, who like was into stocks, and I was like, oh my God, Dad. So I think we're gonna start learning about this like Forex thing. And he was like, oh my God. And my dad was like so embarrassed. It was like Forex, Chris. And I'm like, oh. I was like, is that how you say it? I was like, well, I'm gonna learn it. It's just like, good luck, kid. And here I am. But yeah, so to have your dad legit be like, hey, why don't you look into
It was
that's
sheer
super cool.
coincidence. It was sheer coincidence. And I mean, this might not come to a shocker to most of y'all, but with my engineering background, I'm a data geek, like through and through. And I love, I see Christy nodding her head, she knows. But I love like creating and like testing strategies and just analyzing things and see how they work.
I'm curious to see if we could do like a poll on how many engineers are actually successful traders, because there's a dude in my old office that I like showed the things to, and he's like 100% analytical and he's already profitable. Like he's so consistent. I'm like, how? What? And it's just the way that an engineer's brain works.
They will not trade until they test, until they have tested it, until it is like untestable.
I'm like, take my $6,000, give me a. Oh wait, take it all.
But no, I've literally tried almost everything under the sun. I won't say I've tried like every trading style, because somebody in the comments will be like, well, did you try this? I'm like, probably not. But like I've developed price action technical analysis, which is something that everybody should do. I've dabbled in fundamental analysis, which is not only like really trading news, but also kind of in the sense of what Bruce is studying is the macroeconomics. It's almost like the technical analysis of the world, like a top-down analysis of the world, doing that. Even the sense kind of what we do now is trade more indicator mechanical based systems where you have all your indicator criteria met, and then you just formulate a buy and sell off of that. I've even done, actually, the first strategy that I passed my prop firm with a little help from price action was probability trading, which is a whole nother subject that people are interested in. I could talk for a lot about that, but the last thing I could think of off the top of my head, and I'm gonna get a reaction from Christy with this, is I've also tested and traded astrology trading, and I'm done as much. So as an engineer, I don't want it to work. I did not want it to work, but whenever I was looking up everything, I did my due diligence. I was like, I'm going to give this a fair shot. And some of the things actually line up, and it's annoying.
Some are totally.
Oh yeah, some are total garbage, but that's everything in trading. Some are good.
So when Mercury's in retrograde, you short, right?
It was more the moon cycle that we.
It's moon cycle, yeah. It's moon cycles, moon phases, planet alignments, and their zodiac. Dude,
when we were testing it, like what? Like 60 something.
I was getting 60 to 70% without price action, just like certain indicators that I used, and yeah, that's all. If y'all are interested, in astrology podcasts,
please make a fucking video on it. I will fucking watch that.
It is a lot. It is a lot to take in, and I'll go into detail of like some of the reasons, like as to how it makes, or like how and why it makes sense. Because like I thought it was super cool, because I was so busy trying to prove it wrong that I just ended up like proving it right to myself. So I was like, okay.
We kind of did it as like a little joke, like a
spoof, it started as a joke. Yeah.
It definitely backfired on us. We're like, wait a second.
But
not bad. But there are some extremists, so don't go just creating astrology. But yeah, it was interesting. But yeah, Jay has dabbled in a little bit of everything. Is what
so that'd be a fun topic to cover probably pretty soon. Yeah. But that's kind of it for me. But I will wrap it up on two concepts, and Arty and Christy kind of already talked about this. But if there's anything to take away from my story, it's the fact that I've always been the mindset, and still to this day, is if you fail to prepare, then you must prepare to fail. And that's literally the engineering motto. It's like, you can't expect to come into trading, watch a YouTube video, grab a strategy and be like, okay, I'm going to be profitable. That's just nonsense. Like Christy knows I love
that's me though.
I love my sports analogies.
I fucked up so much watching. I was like, nope, 100%, no risk, no stop loss. Let's fuck.
Gosh, that stresses me out.
I love my sports analogies. And it's like saying, it's like going up to LeBron and being like, okay, can you teach me how to dunk in 2 weeks? It's like, okay, like people, like, you don't understand that it takes time to develop trading. 5 to 10% of the world are consistently profitable. It might even be closer to the 5 than the 10, but it's like, how do you expect to be better than 95% of people within like a couple weeks, or like taking 2 to 3 hours during the weekend and be like, oh, I've been like off and on learning trading for about 6 months, but how much of the 6 months have you actually devoted into trading? So like I said, if you fail to prepare, then prepare to fail. And the last thing that I want to say is the fact that you need to find positive perspectives of anything, kind of like how Arty and Bruce and Christy have done. There are always positive things that you could take, even from good or bad scenarios. I can look back and say, well, my life got screwed up because of COVID. I had no clue about trading, nor did I think I was ever going to become a trader. I was like, I'm going to be an engineer and I'll be set. But life happens, and I could look at the cons and like get depressed and be like, my life sucks now. Or I could just let it light a fire, because I wouldn't have picked up trading. I wouldn't have met these 3 amazing people. And I probably wouldn't be sitting here talking to you today if COVID didn't happen. So like, as much as a negative it is, I also view it still as a positive. So that's what I like to wrap it up on.
Yeah, I think that's actually like a pretty relatable story to like what you went through, Jay, as far as like losing your job at COVID. I know during that time, the trading floor wasn't actually around yet, but I was in other groups, and so was Arty. Arty and I were still friends then. And I think, I don't know if I specifically remember like COVID exactly, like how it felt. I mean, other than everything just sold, it was really easy to make money then. But basically, I remember a lot of people coming into the communities that we were in at the time as just like regular community members. And a lot of them having similar stories to that, like, oh, I lost my job because of this or that. And a lot of people did find trading because of COVID. And, you know, obviously some people came in with the wrong type of mindset. So I think that having that reality of, like you said, like that kind of almost having that break, I guess, from everyday life, that rat race of the 9 to 5, having that time to kind of think about like, is this even what you want to do? Like, I think a lot of people had that time to reflect on what they really wanted out of life. What did they want to see themselves doing? And I think it's super relatable what you've been through. So I think it's actually kind of cool that you have like the COVID got into trading story, because I think the rest of us were kind of already in it at that point. But yeah. Kind of cool.
I also want to know about this. I personally actually know about this because I was here for the creation, but for those listening who would be interested to know, like whoever wants to answer it can, but like what were y'all goals as like the founders of TTF? Like what were your goals creating it, like the group, and what were the things like y'all valued for a community? Oh, Arty, I see you raised your hand.
I had a different concept than the other 2 sitting in this round table. I wanted the Walmart business plan, where if we were to get volume and help as many people as possible for the most minimal amount of that would be something that I could relate to and could consciously do long term. And so that's my 2 cents. I wanted the best possible education to disrupt everything else in the industry, just like shit on everybody else, and have it be so good that people are like appalled at how little it costs for what they get. You guys can fill in the rest of the gap. I really wanted to say that.
I know. So Arty actually did push that a lot. And you can thank Arty for the price that it is, actually, because there was a time where when we're going over the numbers and things like that, what people don't realize, Like, yeah, it does suck there is a paid wall. And I know that sucks. A lot of people kind of like don't like that. But unfortunately, in this community, in all communities in this world of trading, like scamming is a real issue of ours. So we knew that in order to be able to keep out scammers, like there had to be some sort of paywall, like even if it was minuscule, like how Arty dreamed of this like $5 special or something. But when we ran numbers and like Brutus and I do more of the back end things when we look at like how the numbers get ran and stuff. So we're like, it's a dream, but can't be practical. There are fees and things that like when you have a store now, like, you know, that go into it. And we ran the numbers and we're like, all right, what is the lowest we can charge and still be able to pay our staff? So a thing that a lot of people don't know is like Jay is on here with us, but he is actually staff with us here at the trading floor. And we have other people who are staff as well. And all of our staff, like anybody else who worked a job, are paid. So we don't just like, you know, not pay our people. Everybody who works here gets paid for something. And there are also like all these other like behind the scenes fees that like when you start like talking about it with accountants and things like that, you're like, oh, wow, okay, these things add up. So to run a business, to give you guys the product we want, like we really did go absolutely as low as we really could go. And I know Arty really wanted that $5 special.
I did,
like,
but then
I remember
the 87,000 hours that I put into building a website and hiring people to help me, like I was like, okay, this is going to cost me a lot of money.
Going to cost a lot of money. There are startup costs and things. We're like, yeah, there's just things we just can't do. But the concept for the community itself obviously was to keep the price as low as possible. A big issue we saw, obviously, one was scammers. We know that was a problem. And another big problem that we had was that like other communities that we had seen were kind of, I'm going to be honest, they're extremely expensive. Like, I'm just going to call out people. Most communities are extremely expensive unless it's like a Patreon that like one person runs. But to have access to multiple traders who actually do this, like you have
across
access to
different time zones. That's important.
Time zones, exactly. You guys have access to all of our staff as well, who are also all traders. So it's not like one person who's like runs a Patreon and is like on every now and then talking to you guys. Like you truly have like designated hours that we give you guys in the community where you have our undivided attention for those 2, 3, 4 hour time chunks that we give in. And it's usually like a Monday through Friday schedule. Also, like the other thing we really wanted to make sure it was like that you guys had that access to us. So that was important. The upcharging stuff. So that was the other thing. So we compromised where we're like, we can't do $5, but what you'll see is like some communities will charge like this entry fee, but then like they upcharge you literally to ask a question, like outrageous stuff. Like you're like, what's a stop loss? And they're like, that's $100.
For a measly fee of $100, I'll answer your question.
Yeah, so we were like, no way. So we compromised on it when they're like, there will never be upcharging. So if people are asking us questions, if people need a little bit more help or guidance, like that is all included in what we wanted to do. We didn't want people to ever feel like there was like a hidden motive or we were like withholding information for them to like buy our VIP course or whatever. So that was definitely something that was important to us.
Me and Christy have actually been in multiple groups together. And how many times have those things just died and or one tiny little section of it had 15 active people? Whereas the thing that we made is like every channel has its like cult following and it's nonstop. There's thousands upon thousands upon thousands of messages.
You can't read everything. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like really hard to keep up. You guys love to talk. People are also really obsessed with their rank, which I think is funny, but yeah, people love to talk in there. And it's really cool. And it's amazing what we've created, but that was the goal for me. And I know for the guys was to have a community vibe. Like the community was always the focus. It wasn't upcharging. It wasn't making money like that. We do well. Like you've already heard us say, like we do well in other things. So like, the goal wasn't to get as rich as possible and charge you guys like $1,000 to join our secret course or something like that. None of them are worth it. They all teach the same thing. And at the end of the day, most of us like all teach the same thing anyway in the courses, especially when you're talking about the basics of technical analysis and price action. There is no difference when you're learning it. It's just how somebody teaches it. So we really were focused on that. We didn't want that corporate vibe. We wanted it to feel like a community where we were involved and where we took like the community suggestions. Like they gave us feedback and told us like, this is what I want. Like, so for instance, Brutus just did a smart money course. And that was like something that we had a lot of feedback on. Like a lot of people had been like, hey, you did a video on this and they wanted more. And I know Brutus, like you had gotten that request too. So we're like, all right. Brutus is so cute. He was like, I think I'm going to make a smart money course. I was like, oh yeah, you making it. You've been signed up for that course. People have spoken. You are making that course.
Yeah, no, it was in huge demand.
But that's the goal, was like that we got involved with the community and like gave them what they wanted. And there are other things that come with it. Like we do give you guys the risk calculator, because a huge problem is people like what Arty said he used to do. And it's that they just don't risk manage. Yeah, they just, I don't know, they just throw in random lots. I don't really know what
all or nothing. That's the strategy.
So basically, yeah, our idea here is just to get y'all going from the get-go, like giving y'all a TTF roadmap in the sense that a guide tailored to new traders, in the sense that it's outlines, like laying out for you the proper steps and shortcuts to working towards profitability. And so with that, I'd like to wrap it up and say this will conclude episode 1 of the Trading Floor podcast.
Woo!
Golf claps. Golf claps.
Claps.
Like I said before, it's been in the works for a long time, and I really hope y'all enjoyed hearing all of our stories, because it was pretty cool kind of getting to know everybody a little bit more. And I want to give the listeners a shout out. We appreciate you. We truly do. But thank
If you're
you
still
for
here.
Oh yeah. they're probably long gone by this point.
Yeah.
But thank you for tuning in, and like we really appreciate it. For those listening like on the podcast apps, like I've said before, like Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all the others, feel free to add us into your list. That way you don't miss out on our weekly episode. And so for the people on YouTube, please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what you liked about it. Arty and Bruce's YouTubes will be linked down below. Make sure y'all check that out. And like I've said before, we'll be releasing podcasts every single Monday. So look out for episode 2, which will actually be on prop firms, which I talked about before, next Monday, October 10th. So look out for that. But stay safe, y'all. Happy trading, and peace out.
Bye, guys.
Everyone.